And we are almost live, not yet. Yeah, we're live, Beena. We are live.
Hello and
We are
welcome
live.
to Moreness-Culture and welcome to our free space here. Okay. Good morning, Sil. Good morning, Grain.
Oh, good
And good
morning,
morning.
Beena. Good morning. Good
Thank you so
morning.
much. Thank you so much. I know that you are doing okay, well now, I can say that almost well. And you were
Yeah,
having all these
better.
things. And that was the reason we were not here. But we were not sitting idle. We were doing a lot of other things. Like Sil has been like
Yeah,
really, he's
yeah.
been really productive and he was doing a lot of things because it was appropriate. Not that we always have to be like productive and always struggling and striving for that. Okay, something new, but it was appropriateness. So that's why the live
Oh,
was
yeah,
being
oh, yeah.
on a back burner for a few days, but just to save energy and just to get things sorted before that. And this is what always share to be really easy, not with yourself but also with others. And I can really say that with my personal experience that he is very easy with others when it comes to do things. But when it comes to do things appropriately and properly, he's not an easy person. He's always like, no, this is the way it has to be, and which makes
Really?
sense that you can be easy,
Really?
you can do little,
Yeah.
you don't need to do more, but whatever you are doing, you have to be thorough about it. Okay, I'm not that thorough
Yeah,
person. I'm
yeah.
learning, and but he's very kind in this sense that okay, yes, whatever you are doing, no problem. You can say that okay, still I'm not in mood, I'm not in energy. That's it. You don't need to say anything else. Okay, well, don't do this right now. But
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
are doing, it has to be appropriate. Even after that, he's not very really strict about it. But he always mentioned that
Yeah,
whenever you are doing
yeah,
something,
yeah.
just do a little as you can, but do
Right,
it
right.
appropriately, do it thorough. And this
I,
is what I was thinking, like really. Okay, please, sir, you want to say something? Add something?
I just have a quote for you on that.
Okay.
Just added it to
Yes.
my quote file yesterday. I'll read it to you in a
Okay.
moment. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Uh, we can do so much when done in little bits.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. So, why this thought was in my mind? Because again, um, after few years, I'm again going back to the house, and that was a series I used to watch.
The House TV
Few
series, not your house.
yes, the house TV series I was watching almost a decade ago now. Yes. So yeah, maybe more. I don't know,
Wow.
like maybe 10 years. I'm just saying that. Okay, it's been because many years
Wow.
now. And I used to watch that even when I was not understanding it completely, but I was watching that. And House was someone I really admire, the character House, the Dr. House, and that like I was really admiring him, not because of his uh, BMNness, not because of his looks, but just because that he is, that character was very unusual, not nothing like others. It was very unusual. And I was
Yeah.
really thinking about that, okay, what if I could work with him? I'm not a doctor, I'm not in the medical field. That character is just, okay, not a real person. But that was my thought without having any logical reasoning for that. But just that, okay, what it would be to work like with him. And that was my thought. I was so
Wow.
excited
Wow.
about this
Wow.
thing. And later on, when I started working with Sil, not working actually, I just started learning from him at that time. He was sharing and I
Yeah.
was receiving, and that was the time I didn't realize that how much similarities I actually have. He actually have that, and I
Wow.
materialized that also. Okay, now the character is a BMN, so of course this is not a similarity here, but the thoroughness, thinking outside the box, actually trying
And
multiple
thinking things
perspectives.
through to the end. Thinking things through to
Yes,
the end.
thinking things through to the end, and also trying, even when he found something, He always go and really check it. Like, okay, yes, is it?
Correct.
And
Correct.
and then
Correct.
also try
Very
multiple
important.
perspectives. And also,
Very important. Very important,
exactly.
those. And
And
not to
don't
assume there's a single answer, right? How often were there
exactly.
multiple reasons for the disease, not just an answer, multiple.
Yes,
Very, very
yes.
crucial. Very, very
Yes, and
crucial. Yeah.
and persistence. His persistence is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he never, okay, the
Yeah.
character has been written in this way. He never leave these things unresolved. Keep going, keep going. Yes, he
Yeah.
got like really strong punches on his face because of people were like, okay, no, why are you doing this and all that. But okay, but he keep doing that because that was his commitment towards himself, not to his profession, not to his patients. No, the commitment we can have with ourselves. This is the most strongest thing and the most precious thing, because we take it sometimes very for granted, the commitment I have made with myself. But we have to be
Yeah.
very thorough about this. This is the basic thing for self honesty. If I can really give due respect to commitment
Wonderful.
I have made with myself, then of course whatever I'm going to do is going to be according to that. So what I have observed now, that his commitment towards himself is the most precious thing for him. He go above and beyond and really do really hard to resolve that situation, not because that the patient needs that. It's not trying to be nice and trying to be a healer or trying to be good. No, it is to honor the commitment he made with himself. That is the real crux of this whole character for me now. Of course, he manipulate others. Of course, he like to play and tease and all these things with others. Okay.
Mm.
Also, he is dependent on drugs. So many things, because of course
Which I'm
it's a
not.
Hollywood.
Let's just make that very
Yes,
clear. Then that sense, the complete opposite.
I
Uh,
haven't said
I don't
that.
even really
Okay,
take
if
medication. Well, it needs to be said. It needs to be said. For
I was
me.
about to say, sir, I was about to say, I was just
Oh,
making it
all
up at
right.
the
Sorry. All
moment.
right. A little
But
oversensitive, so a little oversensitive, so. I'm just having fun. I'm just
but
having fun.
but the
I don't
adamants,
care really.
yes.
Yeah, that's important.
People
Animals.
sometimes, like people like me, who say that, okay, oh, who can say things like this to other people? But the house character has this thing. He always say abruptly, okay, very strong adamants there. Still also has that. He is
Yeah.
now okay, using a lot of gentleness into this, but the innately, naturally, he's a very adamant person, because he's not like here to pamper you or like, okay, baby soothing you. No,
No.
just sharing the truth, sharing the understanding, not the truth, actually sharing the
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
And when you share understanding, it's not always being perceived with always welcome, yes, or it's thank you so much. Because if even if I will say sometimes, and I'm okay, just an example, if I'm in pain, I don't want to hear any logical reason that, Beena, you cannot cry like babies. I'm in pain. I want to
Wow.
cry. I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, even for
Interesting.
few
Interesting.
minutes. But in those moments, if Sil will say, Beena, it's not that harsh. It's not the end of the world. Okay, you are just exaggerating it. I will not like it.
Mm.
I'm just using myself as a common person, common perspective, common understanding, and behavior. So I'm using myself. I'm not this in this
Right.
phase
Right. Right.
anymore,
Right.
but I'm using myself. People don't like it. But does it mean that he's sharing, the way he's sharing is not good? No, it is good. It is appropriate.
Right.
It is right to give you a wake up call that, oh no, because what we are doing, we're getting out of it. We are hurting ourselves more. Also, we are minimizing ourselves, which means that we are losing our self trust. We are not actually considering our abilities, how much pain we can actually bear, how much tension or stress we can bear, and how much we can resolve and still keep going. So by doing that, oh, it's just a baby thing, and all, yeah, I want to cry, I want to be this. Actually, it is very harmful. I know I also do that, but it is very harmful to do that, because in those moments we consider ourselves, we gauge ourselves less than actuality, which is
Mm.
not a self-honesty thing. So, okay, coming back to the house thing. So this is what I'm doing right now. Again, it's like, okay, oh, the old thing, the old addiction coming back. And I was watching short clips of house and getting
Wow,
so
brilliant.
much more than what I got before. Again, the moreness here.
Yeah.
So welcome to the moreness culture. Okay, sir. It was long because
All
I
right.
was just like, yes, I'm going to share whatever I have in my mind. Because you say
I'm ready.
you
I'm
can
ready.
mumble,
I'm ready.
Beena, you can do whatever you want to. It
No,
seems
I
that
was
it.
just teasing you. I was just teasing you. I feel bad for teasing you now.
No,
All right.
no,
All right.
it was good.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right. And let's screen share and let's get going. Now, where were we lost? Where were we lost? We were
No
on a
idea.
discussion
No
about
idea.
will, right?
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
Don Juan is sharing this concept of will, capital W will, not willpower, will as a physical tentacle of energy that, or multiple tentacles of energy that come out of the midsection of the body, and it's something that you can use to physically connect to the world with, right? So will is something that you can use to affect the world around you, right? Uh,
Mm.
it's a big deal, in other words. It's a very big deal. And what we are reading is Don Juan explaining to Carlos when will comes about, right?
Mm.
And he says yes. So we'll read, and I'll read Don Juan, you read the rest, right? When the convulsions cease, the warrior notices he has strange feelings about things. He notices that he can actually touch anything he wants with a feeling that comes out of his body from a spot right below or right above his navel. Their navel, right? We want to not perpetuate the male thing. That feeling is the will, and when they are capable of grabbing with it, one can rightly say that the warrior is a sorcerer and that they have acquired will. All right, so sorcerer, person of knowledge, yeah, that's probably a better term than sorcerer, but all right, or I don't know, I had another term for that, but I forgot what it is now. All right, yeah, anyway, you continue reading, Beena.
Okay. Don Juan stopped talking and seemed to await my comments or questions. I had nothing to say. I was deeply concerned with the idea that a sorcerer had to experience pain and convulsions, but I felt embarrassed about asking him if I also had to go through that. Finally, after a long silence, I asked him, and he giggled as if he had been anticipating my question. He said that pain was not absolutely necessary. For example, had never had it and will had just happened to him.
All right, so this important point here, that Don Juan says things sometimes, but they seem like they're in the absolute, but they're not. And it's just a peculiarity of his grammar and the way the translation comes out, right? So
Hmm.
don't get too locked in, and be aware that there's flexibility to what Don Juan says, right? Even though it doesn't
Hmm.
always sound like it. It's just an oddity of his way of expressing himself. Don Juan, oh yeah, one day I was in the mountains and I stumbled upon a puma, a female one. She was big and hungry. I ran and she ran after me. I climbed a rock and she stood a few feet away, ready to jump. I threw rocks at her. She growled and began to charge me. It was then that my will fully came out and I stopped her with it before she jumped on me. I caressed her with my will. I actually rubbed her tits with it. She looked at me with sleepy eyes and lay down, and I ran like a son of a bitch before she got over it.
Don Juan made a very comical gesture to portray a man running for dear life. Holding on to his head, I told him that I hated to think I had only female mountain lions or convulsions to look forward to if I wanted well.
My sorcerer was a sorcerer of great powers, he went on. He was a warrior through and through. His will was indeed his most magnificent accomplishment. But a man can go still further than that. A person, sorry. But a person can go still further than that. A person can learn to perceive. Upon learning to perceive, they no longer need to live like a warrior, nor be a sorcerer. Now, this is for me a problem,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
In a greater ethical, strategic sense. Yes, when you learn to perceive, you don't need to have that warriorness, that impeccability. But I feel that this is a great frailty, vulnerability. You're relying on a quality of being to supply what you could have innately. In other words, now it becomes you relying on something, your perception, your perceiving, to give you guidance and to provide you sobriety and sensibility. And yes, okay, it is something that it serves the function and it's really fantastic. But it's still relying on something kind of that's not you. I personally feel it's better to have those qualities innately and add on the additional powers on top of that. That your core is impeccable, right? As we're going
Hmm.
to see later on with the Nawal Julian, who is uh, Don Juan's benefactor, he's talking about, right? We're going to
Hmm.
see that he's a complicated character. In the one hand, he's very indulgent and he's a reprobate and he's quite a dreadful person. But on the other hand, he's very impeccable, right? And he does things very strategically. But we're going to see there's a conflict there, and it's difficult for him. This is a powerful understanding, right? So I feel that perceiving directly is a power, and like any other power, if it's not on a base of impeccability, you've got a problem, right? And that's because you're not automatically and innately following impeccability, right? It's
Hmm.
something that comes afterward. I don't know. To me, it's compromising. I feel, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous,
Hmm.
right? You want to have your root instincts to be impeccability, right? You want to have that trained in you, right? All right. My benefactor was a sorcerer of great powers. He was a warrior through and through. His will was indeed his most magnificent accomplishment, but a person can still go further than that. A person can learn to perceive. Upon learning to perceive, they no longer need to live like a warrior, nor be a sorcerer. And that's important, nor be a sorcerer. But to live like a warrior, this is important. Upon learning to perceive, a man becomes everything by becoming nothing. They, so to speak, vanish, and yet they're there. I would say that this is the time when a person can get anything they desire, but they desire nothing. And instead of playing with their fellow men, fellow people like they were toys, they meet them in the midst of their folly. The only difference between them is that a person who perceives controls their folly, while their fellow people can't. A person who perceives has no longer an active interest in their fellow beings. Perceiving has already detached them from absolutely everything they knew before.
This whole idea of being detached from everything, I know, gives me the chills.
You must be joking. The thing which should give you the chills is not to have anything to look forward to, but a lifetime of doing that which you have always done. Think of the person who plants corn year after year until they're too old and tired to get up. So they lie around like an old dog. Their thoughts and feelings, the best of them, ramble aimlessly to the only things they have ever done, to plant corn. For me, that is the most frightening waste there is. We are people, and our lot is to learn and to be hurled into inconceivable new worlds.
Are there any new worlds for us, really?
We have exhausted nothing, you fool. Perceiving is for impeccable people. Temper your spirit now. Become a spirit warrior. Learn to perceive, and then you'll see there is no end to the new worlds for our vision.
Oh, I
Yeah,
have this.
strong words.
Then you will know that there is no end.
Yeah. It was I'll read the whole thing again. Perceiving is for impeccable people. Temper your spirit now. Become a warrior. Learn to perceive, and then you'll know there is no end to the new worlds for our vision.
Yeah.
So you see, here he says, perceiving is for impeccable men,
Yes.
right? Or impeccable people. But earlier he said you don't need to be a warrior, but the two are conjoined. So again, right? Realize that it's a communication difficulty, right? Perceiving is built on this base of impeccability. Everything is. It's absolutely crucial. And way of impeccability is more than just impeccability itself. It's developing perception, awareness, clarity of intent, capital
Mm.
T trust, attunement, living. So there's more to it than just being impeccable. A lot more, right? That's why I put together a way of impeccability to bring all those factors together. Yes, and to name some of them, like attunement. Yes, Don Juan
Mm.
absolutely lives in attunement, but this concept, this term, this conception of attunement is not named. And naming such conceptions, very, very, very crucial, right? So that you have it there as a conception. Absolutely critical. Very, very important. Very, very important. Very cool. All right. I will say hello to all the TikTokers who have joined us. Brilliant. Good to see you. Good to see you. Always, always good to see you. Yeah, yeah. Very cool. All right. And we're going to continue in a moment. I just want to check and see anybody's on Instagram. Yeah, we have been away for a while, so if you've been following us, I should have shared this with Joseph, I guess. Yeah, I still can. Let me do that. Let me do that. I forgot to do that. I'm coming, Joseph. I'm coming. I'm coming. Uh, But it's very powerful, though, about this point of impeccability. Yes, it's very important if you want to have more in your life. And I feel that the risks of not learning impeccability are very, very dire, crucially dire. And that's, for me, my life is really geared to this. And I think we do need to have the discipline or the awareness or the fear of power to say, don't be greedy for powers like will and perceiving, because that greed can get you into massively big trouble, right? You can get powers before your time, and that's really dangerous, right? Like, you may want to call it the spirit world or the sorcery world, right? Where all sorts of stuff is going on. But that's a hierarchical world of power and dominance and people wanting to steal your energy and stuff like that.
Mm.
If you're going to go messing about in that world, it's like going out into nature. You may go out into nature and not get into trouble and be eaten by a bear or a mountain lion or whatever, right? Or attacked by them. That happens, but you can also get into trouble with that. So you need to go out into nature prepared for the unusual, which is not common. Yeah, but if you don't know what to prepare for, well, then you're in trouble. So to me, be careful of going and exploring if you don't know what you're doing, in other words. But if you do have to go exploring and you're impeccable, then your impeccability is automatically going to lead to doing many things. You're going to be strategic automatically, and you're going to be prepared, you're going to be thorough, you're going to be appropriately cautious, you're going to be appropriately adventurous as things desire. You're going to live in attunement, and attunement is going to help you when you're ignorant, so you can reduce the chances of the unforeseen to the absolute minimum, right? And that is a massive, massive difference, right? So way of impeccability helps you in situations where you're ignorant. Very
Mm.
crucial. Very, very crucial. Yeah. Yeah. This is a very, very big deal. Very big difference. Yeah. To be able to have assistance and guidance and help when you're ignorant, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. Yeah. Very, very big deal. All right. What was I trying to do here? Where did I come here? Oh, I was going to share with Joseph. There we go. All right. Sorry, Joseph. Well, you'll probably see it later, but I suppose I can do it now. All right. I'll send there, and I'll send Norma there, and there's Joseph. There's Joseph. I'll send to show in case just to let her know that we're back. All right. Okay.
Yes.
No. Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. Let's get back to what we were doing. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Fun stuff indeed. Oh, where's my chat? Okay. All right. Please continue reading, Beena.
Okay, from where? Like, okay, no, that's out.
From the top.
Yes?
From the top.
Okay. Okay. Don Juan did not make me leave after I had run his errands, as he been doing lately. He said I could stay, and the next day, June 28, 1969, just before noon, he told me I was going to smoke again. Am I going to try to perceive the guardian again?
No, that's out. This is something else.
Don Juan calmly filled his pipe with smoking mixture, lighted it, and handed it to me. I experienced no apprehension. A pleasant drowsiness enveloped me right away. When I had finished smoking the whole bowl of mixture, Don Juan put his pipe away and helped me stand up. We had been sitting facing each other on two straw mats he had placed in the center of his room. He said that we were going for a short walk and encouraged me to walk, shoving me gently. I took a step and my legs sagged. I did not feel any pain when my knees hit the ground. Don Juan held my arm and pushed me up on my feet again.
You have to walk the same way you got up the other time. You must use your will.
I seemed to be stuck to the ground. I attempted. I stepped with my right foot and almost lost my balance. Don Juan held my right arm at the armpit and gently capsulated, capu- catapulated. What is
Catapulted.
okay?
Catapulted.
Catapulted me forward. Catapulted me forward. But my legs did not support me, and I would have collapsed on my face had Don Juan not caught my arm and buffered my fall. He held me by the right armpit and made me lean on him. I could not feel anything, but I was certain that my head was resting on his shoulder. I was perceiving the room from a slanted perspective. He dragged me in that position around the porch. We circled in twice in a most painful fashion. Finally, I suppose my weight became so great that he had to drop me on the ground. I knew he could not move me. In a certain way, it was as if part of myself deliberately wanted to become lead heavy. Don Juan did not make any effort to pick me up. He looked at me for an instant. I was lying on my back facing him. I tried to smile at him, and he began to laugh. Then he bent over and slapped me on the belly. I had a most peculiar sensation. It was not painful or pleasurable or anything I could think of. It was rather a jolt. Don Juan immediately began to roll me around. I did not feel anything. I assumed he was rolling me around because my view of the porch changed in accordance with a circular motion. When Don Juan had me in the position he wanted, he stepped back.
Stand up. Stand up the way you did the other day. Don't piddle around. You know how to get up. Now get up.
I intently tried to recollect the actions I had performed on that occasion, but I could not think clearly. It was as if my thoughts had a will of their own, no matter how hard I tried to control them. Finally, the thought occurred to me that if I said up, as I had done before, I would certainly get up. I said up, loud and clear, but nothing happened. Don Juan looked at me with obvious displeasure and then walked around me toward the door. I was lying on my left side and had a full view of the area in front of his house. My back was to the door. So when he walked around me, I immediately assumed he had gone inside. Don Juan, I called loudly, but he did not answer. I had an overpowering,
Scroll up.
yeah. Uh, okay. I had an overpowering feeling of impotence and this despair. Okay, despair. I wanted to get up. I said up again and again, as if that were the magic word that would make me move.
Hey,
Nothing happened. I had an attack of frustration and I went through a sort of tantrum. I wanted to beat my head against the floor and weep. I spent excruciating moments in which I wanted to move or talk, or I could not do either. I was truly immobile, paralyzed. Don Juan, help me. Sorry, help me. I finally managed to bellow. Don Juan
bellow.
came back. Bellow. Okay. Don Juan, help me. I finally managed to bellow. Don Juan came back and sat in front of me, laughing. He said that I was getting hysterical and that whatever I was experiencing was inconsequential. He lifted my head and, looking straight at me, said that I was having an attack of sham fear.
Mm.
He told me not to fret.
Your life is getting complicated. Get rid of whatever it is that's causing you to lose your temper. Stay here quietly and rearrange yourself.
He placed my head on the ground. He stepped over me, and all I could perceive was the shuffling of his sandals as he walked away. My first impulse was to fret again, but I could not gather the energy to work myself into it. Instead, I found myself slipping into a rare state of serenity. A great feeling of ease enveloped me. I knew what the complexity of my life was. It was my little boy. I wanted to be his father more than anything else on this earth. I liked the idea of molding his character and taking him
Eh?
hiking. Sorry?
No, I'm just like this idea of molding someone's character. Well,
Yeah. I like the
yeah.
idea of molding his character and taking him hiking and teaching him how to live. And yet I abhorred the idea of coercing him into my way of life. But that was precisely what I would have to do, coerce him with force or with that artful set of arguments and rewards we call understanding. I must let him go, I thought. I must not cling to him. I must set him free. My thoughts brought on a terrifying feeling of melancholy. I began to weep. My eyes filled with
Mm.
tears, and my view of the porch blurred. Suddenly, I had a great urge to get up and look for Don Juan to explain to him about my little boy. And the next thing I knew, I was looking at the porch from an upright position. I turned around to face the house and found Don Juan standing in front of me. Apparently, he had been standing there behind me all the time.
Wow, let's pause here for a second and pay
Yes.
attention to motivation, right? So what
Yes.
was lacking before was Carlos didn't understand the connection between the motivation and thought. He thought saying up would be enough, but it's lacking motivation. In other words, there's no intent to the up. He's just saying the word up, up, up. It has to come from inside you, right? And the
Hmm.
word is irrelevant. You have to feel up. You have to want up. You have to intend up. You have to will up. Will and intent, same spectrum. right? So that's now suddenly had the motivation, and boom, right there, he was up. See,
Yeah.
Carlos too much in his head.
Hmm.
They have to understand practicality. Yes, and yes, you need to use your brain to understand, but that understanding always has to translate into practical, like in this case, right? I'm talking about it, the understanding, but it's about understanding it that motivation, intent, will is something that comes from inside, not up here. See, so I can use the intellect, the brain, to understand, but it has to always be understanding that's practical. Right? That's
Hmm.
capital U understanding, useful understanding. Otherwise, you're like Carlos. You just believe stuff and you think you know, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any difference, right?
Hmm.
He missed a very simple, very basic, obvious point. It's a very, very fundamental flaw that you think the mind is what does it. No, you have to do it with your body, with your will. There's other parts to you than just the mind, right?
Hmm.
Very important to understand. Make sense, Beena?
Yes, I'm just trying to understand because the first thing what Carlos mentioned when Don Juan laughed and giggled, and he says, "Okay, I was feeling embarrassed." That was something I was like, "Okay, why we feel embarrassed?" I think the the most genuine embarrassment or the really precise moment for embarrassment, because mostly we don't feel embarrassed, we feel annoyed and we say, okay, I was feeling embarrassed. We feel other, but the embarrassment comes when you feel that someone really got you, like really in that moment, in those moments. Don Juan exactly said what Carlos was about at that, in those moments. And then
Exposed his nonsense, in other words. Yeah.
yes, and that is the real embarrassment because I never paid attention to what embarrassment actually is in front of
Right. Right.
others. We feel
Right.
embarrassed when they really uh, get you into something, we get exposed to. So that was again might be trivial for others, but this is something very good for me to understand that what embarrassment
Yeah.
actually is. And now what he's saying, I can say that I'm very good at materializing things, but also I understand that it doesn't come, it doesn't happen um, by forcing yourself. That's why I always say that, okay, when ideas amuse you, when you have no baggage of my ego, okay, what if this will not happen? What if I will not get this? What if I will not be able to do something? That is the baggage. It's a baggage. It's a resistance right there. Ego is the most horrible thing for materializing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If you have ego, oh, what if, so what, really, so what if I really want something, I'm not dependent on it, my life is not dependent on it. What if I will not get it, so what, I'm still going to be the same person. The idea of the whole thing, to perceive anything, I'm using the analogy of materializing thing, but actually it was also when Carlos was trying to do that, it is to shift your mind, to shift not only
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
sensory world, but also to shift from your ego. Because he was saying that, he was feeling that, okay, I need to, I have to, and I can. There were a lot of shirts nonsense there. Okay,
Yeah.
what if?
Yeah. Very
So what?
powerful.
Yeah, so we always say, what if this thing will not happen? So what? I think this is the magic mantra right there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what? Okay, and we have to be very aware of it. So what? If I will not get up, okay, if I will not be able to do this again, so what? Okay, I can try again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am the one who
Exactly.
did this before. So all I need is just to let it go and see what will happen. I think that
Yeah.
ego is real nonsense, real culprit here in
Oh yeah.
materializing and accessing beyond the sensory
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ego.
Yeah. Yeah. Ego is a massively distorting factor. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very important to be aware of. All right. Please continue, Beena. Am I
You're
screen
not
sharing?
sharing
No.
his screen. No.
Yeah. Screen share. All right. There we go. Right. From the top here.
Okay. Although I could not feel my steps, I must have walked toward him because I moved. Don Juan came to me, smiling, and held me up by the armpits. His face was very close to mine.
Good. Good work.
He said reassuringly.
Mm.
At that instant, I became aware that something extraordinary was taking place right there. I had the feeling at first that I was only recollecting an event that had taken place years before. At one time in the past, I had seen Don Juan's face at very close range. I had smoked his mixture, and I had had the feeling then that Don Juan's face was. You have to move your cursor a bit, sir. Okay, submerged in a tank of water. It was enormous and it was luminous and it moved. The image had been so brief that I did not have time to really take stock of it. This time, however, Don Juan was holding me and his face was no more than a foot away from mine, and I had time to examine it. When I stood up and turned around, I definitely saw Don Juan. The Don Juan I know definitely walked toward me and held me. But when I focused my eyes on his face, I did not see Don Juan as I am accustomed to seeing, to perceiving him. No, to seeing him.
Mm.
Instead, I perceive a large object in front of my eyes. I knew it was Don Juan's face, yet the knowledge was not guided by my perception. It was rather a logical conclusion on my part. After all, my memory confirmed that the instant before that Don Juan I know was holding me by the armpits. Therefore, the strange luminous object in front of me had to be Don Juan's face. There was a familiarity to it, yet it had no resemblance to what I would call Don Juan's real face. What I was looking at was a round object which had a luminosity of its own. Every part in it moved. I perceived a contained yeah,
Mm-hmm.
undulatory rhythmical flow. It was as if the flowing was enclosed within itself, never moving beyond its limit, and yet the object in front of my eyes was oozing with movements and in place of its on its surface, at any place on its surface. The thought that occurred to me was that if it oozed life, in fact, it was so alive that I became engrossed looking at its movement. It was mesmerizing, fluttering. It became more and more engrossing until I could no longer tell what the phenomenon in front of my eyes was. I experienced a sudden jolt.
Rabina, let's pause it right there, actually.
Yes.
Because this is now a description for the first time that
Hmm.
Carlos perceiving energy directly.
Hmm.
And he's perceiving Don Juan's face as this luminous object that has movement within it. And it doesn't, it's just vaguely in the same shape, but it's nothing compared to what he's seeing energy, he's seeing movement, he's seeing life, right? Not
Hmm.
a physical substance like we normally see. And this is very important to be aware. It's the first description we have of perceiving, right, from the view of somebody doing it themselves, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Very powerful. And it's very cool to be aware of this. It really describes this nicely, right? That it's this energy, this movement, this life, right? You seeing things as it really is, right? The real face is not the real face. That's the realness, the energy, right? What we see is just less complicated, simplified. Yeah.
So, I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Do we perceive all the time, but we are not aware of it? Or we
Correct.
can
Correct.
only perceive
Yep.
when we deliberately do?
No. The first, we perceiving all the time, we're just not aware of it. This will come up later. This will come up later. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yes, but one more question. That uh, when we perceive all the time, so what we say, what we call feelings, are the expression or the reaction. No, actually, the yes, we can call both actions, expressions or reactions of what we are perceiving, but actually not seeing. So we say
Correct.
that, oh, it's I'm
Correct.
just feeling it. I'm just feeling it. So
Correct.
we are actually perceiving the energy,
Correct.
and in which, but we are not able to understand that. So we
Right.
we only focus on what was the feeling of that perceiving energy.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And if we understand this, when we actually feel, it is because we are connected energetically to something. And it's like you have a conduit, a cable or a connectivity, right? And there's information flowing back and forth. That's what you're feeling. Yeah. And because we don't have control over our energetic tentacles, we connect to everything and we feel stuff that we don't necessarily want to feel because we are not perceiving the energy directly. So we're doing things energetically that we don't really aware of. If you were able to perceive and you are able to control your will and your energy and your tentacles in the connectivity, you would say, oh, wait a second, I don't want to have this massive cable of connection to this thing, and I can see that it's all discombobulated and upset and whatever. I don't want to be connected to that. And then you disconnect from that, see? We
Yes.
connect inadvertently. We just always connected to stuff around us, and there's no sensibility to it. We're just there, out connected, and that's therefore we feel and perceive stuff that we don't necessarily want to perceive. Right? Very important. But if you think of it as making like cables, right? Like you plugging into somebody else. Okay, now I'm feeling it. It's like, wow, no, I don't want to be plugged into that because you can see it from a distance, right? Without being plugged into it, you can see the shine, the hue, and you can get an idea that, or the way it's vibrating or fibrillating or whatever. So, wow, this is obviously not happy or upset. I don't want to be connected to that. Right? Oh. This is what it's
Hmm.
all about: managing our interconnectivity energetically. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially like our computer on the internet, right?
Hmm.
We are technically able to connect to everything, but as a browser, we say, oh, I want to specifically connect to this, specifically connect to that. I'm not always connected to everything, even though it's possible, right? You're choosing your
So,
connectivity.
so
Yeah.
okay, just to trying to figure out or like find some analogy. So when we have the internet connection, the data or the information coming towards us is not exactly like the image right now I'm seeing, but the flow of the data is in its more energetic form, like binary codes and all these things. So
Yeah.
initially this is how it is, and that flows, not the image right now. Okay, yes, a combination makes an image or a video or a sound, but actually it is something else. It is just codes and they transfer,
Yeah.
and that is something, the energy, yes, or like your
Well,
pixels used to be. Okay, yeah, pixels are great. I don't know what was in the old TVs, but pixels, which makes the picture, the image for us. But in actuality, there is something else going on, but we don't see it because, of course, we have a different uh,
yeah. In
simulation for
this
that.
case, the computer is or the internet is not a particularly good analogy, right?
Okay.
think of it
Yeah.
this way.
Mm,
When we connect to another person, we are
mm,
doing so visually, audibly, maybe we touch, yeah.
mm,
But I'm not really inside you. But imagine if you had a physical cable that you plugged into somebody else, and now you accessing the full experience of them. You feel everything, you smell what they smell, you hear what they smell, you think what they think. That would be a very different experience, right? You're going to be feeling that person in their totality, you're going to feel, how they are, everything, right? Every nuance of them. And that's perceiving. You plugging into something directly, right? To get the full experience, not a representation of it. When we see something, when we hear something, it's a representation, right? It's just an effect, right?
yes.
It's not the
Yes.
thing itself, right? And that's perceiving, is to perceive the thing itself directly, not
Okay.
through the secondary effects, sight, sound, touch, feel, or all the senses. They're really a secondary perception, not a direct
One more
perception.
thing. One more question,
Yeah.
at least so far. That when we perceive energy, is it is it just it is just experiencing that energy, or it is actually receiving that energy? Now you have it.
That's a very interesting point. That's a very interesting point. This is difficult to answer definitively, but I would say it's both, and it is a choice. Yes, that you will receive the energy. In other words, it's possible that your energy will be added to or potentially contaminated in some way, right?
Hmm.
Like you're taking in food. You can see food, yeah, but eating it is to ingest it, which now adds to you, and it may improve you or not, right, depending on the food, yeah, or the thing that you intake. But perceiving energy, I feel you are able to take it in without it affecting you, right? So
Hmm.
perceiving energy directly, you can have that ingestive quality, right? That you ingesting it, and
Hmm.
it's now changing you. But you can also have the experience of ingesting it without the actual effects of ingesting it.
This
Does
is
that make
this is
sense?
something, because oh yes, okay, because this is my concern.
Mm,
Uh, when I don't know what it was, perceiving energy directly or not, but when I really set that intent that I want to perceive, and I was having a very unusual feeling,
mm,
very unusual. It
mm,
was I cannot explain it. Of course, every single time I try, it comes like okay, something more added to it, but still I feel that okay, I cannot explain it really well.
mm.
Um, but now when sorry, Carlos, when he was saying that okay, there was a movement inside everything. This is something similar, Sil, because I shared with you that I was feeling like I was made of like particles, and every particle has its own thing, but also they were all contained in my
Mm, mm, mm.
physical existence. So that was something similar now I feel, because it was like when we have those old TV, there's a static thing, so like all the pixels are buzzing, yes, and that
Mm.
was a thing, but it was a fluidity I was feeling. And in my hands, in my head, in my face, and everywhere it was
Wow.
like that. And this is something when I shared with you and Donna, I think I tried to share many times, but I was not, but
Yeah,
this
yeah,
time
yeah.
I think you remember my words, that I was feeling something like this.
Mm.
And now when Carlos said that, I I can understand that. Of course, he says that it was luminous. For
Right,
me, it
right.
was the luminosity was not like so brilliant and all that, but it was like kind of like a mercurial kind of thing.
Mm, mm,
Not very shiny, at least for me.
Right, right,
But it was not very shiny, but also it was not dead or dark. No.
right.
So it was
Well, keep in
just,
mind your experience may not have been all the way. It may have been on the scale somewhere in between perceiving energy completely directly and perceiving in the normal way. See, so you may
yes.
not have been all the way there. So just be aware.
Exactly. But I'm saying that because I never read this book and I had no idea what
Mm,
it is,
mm,
but still I experienced something.
mm.
This is the power of the intent, the magic of intent.
Yes, it's
I had
fantastic.
no
Absolutely
idea what he was
fantastic.
saying,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I tried that, and I just said that, okay, this is something. Again, amusing idea, again the fun idea for me. No resistance, no ego nonsense. What if I will not? But I was feeling a bit what to say? Yeah, a bit not anxious,
trepidatious,
but yeah, not anxious in a negative way, but yes, oh yes. So, but I said,
trepidatious, cautious.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So then I said, okay, so I don't want to continue with this because I don't know what will happen.
Mm.
So that was, or maybe that it is like, okay, uh, continuously my attention was going towards myself that, okay, oh, this is something going on. Always something is feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
So what is happening now with me? That Wenzel says that sometimes uh, your memory of the future, not the memory of the
Yeah,
past.
yeah, yeah.
So now I'm reading this, uh, and Carlos is explaining his experience. Uh, Not exactly, but I have experienced that kind of a similar thing.
Wow, fantastic,
Very,
Beena. Absolutely
very,
fantastic.
it's very
Wonderful.
interesting.
Very interesting indeed. All right, we'll leave it there for today, and we'll be back
Yes.
tomorrow. We'll be back
Oh
tomorrow.
yes, we will be back. Hopefully, yes, we will be back tomorrow, and we will
Yeah.
continue with this. And we would love to have your participation, especially Joseph. Yes, and I don't know. It's been many days now that Norma is not here, but okay,
Yeah.
Norma,
Yeah.
this is something. Yes, okay, we would love to have you
Well, we
again.
love you. We love you all. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and also
Good.
everyone, you all are
Stephanie,
welcome.
everybody. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yes, you all are welcome to join us, and not necessarily on Zoom, but of course, if you want to, you can come on Zoom also. We will make it a special day and we will
Oh
continue
yeah. Oh
with
yeah.
this. So,
Oh yeah.
we will have a good discussion, I hope. So, you can come,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, and we will take it like, okay, yes, a different live, we will do that.
Yeah.
But the focus is, of course, on reading this story and doing the capital R reading of Don
Yeah.
Juan and
Yeah.
Carlos
Yeah.
Castaneda's their
Yeah.
experiences together.
Yeah.
Because Way of Impeccability says that it's all sharing, not a teaching or telling. Yes,
Exactly.
Carlos' books has been written in a way that he was a student or apprentice, and then Don Juan was teaching him, telling him
Right.
all
Right.
these
Right.
things. But we just keep it in mind that okay,
Moreness culture.
always
Moreness culture. Sharing, not telling.
yes.
Understanding, not agreeing. Disagreeing. Very important. Yeah.
Yes, so in for us, they both are experiencing the same thing in these
Right.
stories, and
Right.
this is
Right.
what our focus is. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Yep.
But
Yep.
if by chance you find this video, and even if just a little bit you find this a bit valuable,
Yeah.
please grab this opportunity and set your algorithm to give you more valuable things according to you,
Oh
of
yeah.
course.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Make a choice, make a deliberate choice, because it is having an ability, and of course having the understanding of that I can or you can make a deliberate choice in your life
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
big huge deal and a first step towards really having a peace of being and a freedom of being.
Very
So please
important.
make
Very important.
deliberate choices every
Yeah.
single
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
especially on your focusing on your online algorithm and activities, because this is going to
Yes.
shape
Yes.
your news feed. Not only that,
Crucial.
but it is
Crucial.
going to shape your reality
All
in
right. We
this
gotta go,
online
Beena.
world also.
Time is up.
Okay, so bye for now.
All right. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. I just want to end it before the hour on TikTok. Otherwise, I have to edit it there.